Hey everybody, it is me, Chris Herman, here for another episode of On Deck. Today's guest is a repeat guest. It's Erin Feldman, our art director here at the agency. And I really wanted to have another conversation with her because those of you that have been following the podcast know that I've been very passionate in my communication about how now is just absolutely the best time, like in the history of the world, to be a creative person, I think. Based on the technology that's available, the different avenues of creativity, and then the ability through social media and NFTs to really control your destiny as a creative person. So having Erin back on was a logical next step. So in this conversation, we talk about, her creativity, how she stays inspired, some lessons for up-and-coming creatives who want to get into the business and how they can have a job and also create on the side. And then we veer into a bunch of other topics. But I really enjoyed this one. I hope you will too. So without further ado, this episode of On Deck is with Erin Feldman. Enjoy. Hello, Erin.
Hello, Chris. How are you today?
I am fine. Erin Feldman, you're back for round 2 on deck. How do you feel?
Good.
Welcome.
Really cold.
I know, right? For those that are watching and listening, our many viewers, they should know that it was very chilly. I'm wearing a turtleneck sweater today.
I think this is like the coldest all winter.
This is definitely the coldest day that we've had thus far. It was 42 to 45 when we woke up.
Mm-hmm. It was only like 48 when I left the house.
We were on our call with the Midwest Superstore, and we were talking to them. And for them, they are experiencing 45 degree to 50 degree temperatures. And for them, they're like, yeah, shorts and T-shirts. And I'm like, same temperature, right?
Completely
you guys
different.
Are going up, we're coming down, meeting in the middle. For you guys, it's warm, and for us, it's a chilly day. Which,
yeah. All my friends up north are like, I need my heater. I'm like, what the hell's that?
Yeah.
What do you do with that? I'm wearing like sandals all winter.
Right. Here we are today, and I thought that I'd like to try and focus our conversation, at least initially, into the world of creativity, graphic design, NFTs, and I was thinking just before we started that you are a great example for any person, I think, coming up in the graphic design field or people who are entering into the field of what you can accomplish. And I mean that on one hand, yes, you can find a hopefully meaningful job or career in the industry, working and making money and being a leader and being able to create and continue at the same time to be able to still do your own creative work, which so you're doing both, which I think is really cool. And I think that's a great example for anybody saying, well, is it really, can I make it in this industry, and what does that mean?
Well, I know for me, if I don't have personal projects, I get really itchy is not the right word, but like
itchy,
buzzy. Like I just like feel unsatisfied. So it's a lot of things I've noticed with a lot of creators, designers, illustrators, that it's important to have personal projects.
Right.
And like it's an undervalued thing because like we've had other people that I've worked with here that are like, well, what's the point of me doing art if I'm not getting paid for it? But like, yeah, like you remember Carter? He was someone we had like 5 years ago. The biggest thing is he didn't draw for like pleasure. It was draw for a project I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
How can I make money off of it? It's like, yes, that's important too.
Right.
But I have to have projects that are just for me, that aren't for someone else. No one's paying me for it. It's not to even make NFTs or anything like that. It's to fulfill a need in me.
Yeah, like just to satisfy your own like creative needs and desires, right?
Like you playing guitar,
yeah.
For me it's drawing. If I don't have the drawings or even like making vector art, making characters, I get paid for it sometimes. Like I'm happy to do it for things I'm gonna get paid for. But if I don't have those projects for me, what's the point?
Right.
And then it's also to do my own personal growth.
That that you mentioned that's a strange thing to me, to think that any creative person would say, I only will put energy into this if I'm getting paid.
And I don't know if it's someone that's maybe that their main focus is a freelancer,
right, versus
working for an agency or working for a company. But I know that when he used to draw, like, he would only be drawing for illustration projects he was doing for work. Versus I'm like, wow, I really like that character. I'm going to draw them and see how they do it. Or I see another illustrator I love and I might emulate their style for a little bit to see how it feels. Mm-hmm. Or even like I just joined one of those learning software things online. So I'm going to try and do some projects that way to see if I can change like how I draw a little bit, or to take better use of my Procreate program.
Yeah, the more I think about this point that you've made, it's almost like I can hardly even fathom it, right?
Well, it's always
like,
that.
How do you not do what you love to do, regardless of whether you get paid?
But the biggest thing for at least my generation was do what you love and you'll never work a day. So it was always like the mindset of you have to do, your career field has to be what your interest is.
Yeah.
That's not always the best for everyone. Sometimes you gotta listening to podcasts and they were like, follow your curiosity, because like what you might be into for fun, or what you might be into if your creative outlet, you either can't make money from, or maybe it loses interest. Like if you're doing it every day 40, 50, 60 hours a week for pay, then you don't really enjoy it anymore. It's a job. It's not a pleasure. Mine, it's thankfully does both, but that's not.
Yeah, I don't know. My mom gave me this book when I was a kid. It's called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. I didn't read the book.
But the same premise.
Yeah, you get the point, though. I mean, it says it right there on the title. It's like, okay, that's what the book's about. And I mean, you hear a lot of people say, like, follow your passion. That could, if you're passionate about something that you also suck at and have little chance of making any income at, well, maybe then following your passion isn't a great idea. Like if your passion is to make baskets, there might not be a big basket market, right? My mom used to say, my mom used to always say, you're gonna major in underwater basket weaving. It's like a real insult.
No, my mom was always really supportive of the art stuff.
No, I'm not saying my mom wasn't, but it was like an old-fashioned term. Like if somebody didn't have any direction, they were going to major in underwater basket weaving, which would be a totally useless skill.
No, I'm the straight A overachiever. So if I was interested, my mom knew I was going to be fine.
Right. So do you think, all right, hang on a second. Let me package my thoughts together here a little bit. Number one, I think we would all agree that if you're going to have a successful career in something, for the most part, you probably need to enjoy it, because you're going to have to put in an enormous amount of time at it.
Or at least be interested in it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be passionate, but you have to be passionate, but it doesn't have to be your one goal in life.
Right. I mean, I have a lot of friends who work in the car business who make a ton of money and they don't necessarily love it. They might have at one point in time, maybe they don't love it anymore, but the pay for them is so good that'll, But do they like the sales? Do they like talking to people? I think they like all of it, but after a while, they probably just, after years of doing it, get a little burnt on it, and it's just like now they're just doing it because they make a ton of money.
I mean, that's something you're passionate about.
Making money.
I mean, money's great. You can't really do much without money.
Money is a good thing. It's helpful to have in life.
Anybody's like, money doesn't buy happiness. I completely disagree. It can't buy the happiness, but it can get you where you need to be happy.
Yeah, and I look at it as money buys freedom, it buys choice, it buys opportunity. Yeah, you might buy something that you like and it makes you happy for a while. It's not going to make you fundamentally happy or not happy as a person. But certainly having the freedom to be able to do and choose the things that you want to choose in your life, that's good. I don't see any problem with that.
No, I completely agree, because I have many friends that have 2-3 jobs and they have to do it to make money. But if they had the one job that paid well, they could go pursue their other passions,
right,
without having to work every day. So yeah, money buys happiness to a certain extent.
What do you think, like the kids, who are getting into creative fields right now? What do you think's drawing them in? I mean, are there still kids growing up drawing and cartooning and doing all that stuff?
I think so. I think a lot of them are just because I listen to so many podcasts and YouTube. A lot of them are afraid of like AI taking over, but they're still interested in like the fields. Mm-hmm. It's more of what I've noticed with listening, they're like more of pushed into being specialized fields, which are interesting, versus when I was in school, which aged myself about 10-12 years ago, it was more of a generalized focus. And then once you get into the field, or at least in your last year, then you specialize. Because for me, I like to know a lot of things, and once I know a lot of things, then I can figure out like what I was into.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were into web design, they're supposed to like focus on web design or focus on packaging design, especially. And design's all encompassing, because it's not just, oh, I make graphics for websites. Well, the one person makes logos. You might be someone that does illustration, but it's still design because it's graphics oriented, or you do product design. So design is such a big field that even as more things go into automated, there's still that human touch, and there's so many different ways to do design. And with the NFTs coming out and all these different new mediums, there's always things to do. Plus, you're going to make more money in design versus like, I like painting. Not that there's anything wrong with painting, and I've met some fabulous painters. But unless you like have a following online, probably not going to make great money being purely a painter and illustrator. Versus like design, you can probably always find a job in design.
Yeah, I and even still, you know, when you talk about the AI piece, it's like, okay, I mean, yes, there's going to be a continually growing number or amount of creative that ultimately, you know, basic stuff that's that can be duplicated and that will be AI driven, I suppose. But I don't know. I mean, to me, AI and that technology is going to be significantly powerful in a lot of areas, but I don't know. Will it get to the point where it can create better than humans?
I don't think it'll ever create better than humans, but I think it'll be like something like Canva or like Squarespace, where they have those like automated things that you can use as you're like launching. So like real basic designs that you can use. But eventually, as you get bigger, you're always going to need that personalized thing, which needs to come from a human. Because, okay, great, I can create a logo for free through one of these programs, but like that means 12 other schmoes are going to have it.
Right.
Versus me, Erin, as a designer, I'm going to work with you to really learn what your business is, who your clients are, and like customize and give you a couple options like that you'd never be able to create using these generic pieces.
Spirits in the machine.
Yeah, spirits in the machine. The major cannot make everything.
Right. I agree. I think it's our job to continually evolve and understand, you know, the matrix and what the framework is, so that you can operate and create within it, you know. And I know, I want to talk about NFTs at some point in time.
I know you do.
We're going to get there, you know, but I just want to really start off by focusing on being able to provide some value to people who would be considering getting into the creative field, and you know, to give them a sense of hope and optimism that now is a great time for them to be able to do that.
I think there's so many jobs in the field, especially with like the change in market through COVID, that there's more positions to work anywhere in the world but from home.
Right.
Like 3-4 years ago, yeah, there was opportunities to work primarily at home, but they weren't as vast as they are now. You go on LinkedIn, you'll find like thousands of jobs that are all remote or hybrid or whatever. And then there's so many different elements. You could just be a content creator. There's so many different things than when like I was in school, like, oh, you're a web designer. I do logos. I design prints. But like...
Did they say it in that tone of voice?
No, that's just how I'm... But it's like you had to be like, there was still a lot of kinds of designers, but there's so many more now, and I feel as it goes on and on and on, there's going to only be more ways to design, more ways to create. There are people that only like create on the iPad, like instead of being on Adobe and like on the computer.
Which you do a lot of. I mean, you had it sitting in here just a second ago.
Down here now it just has stickers.
Uh-huh.
But like, you could be in college and just be designing things on Etsy or selling on any of those like other websites, just doing stickers or just doing there's little things on Twitch. It's like a streaming platform, Twitch, where you just do their little avatar thingies. I know people that are like voice actors that don't want to have like their face on their like Twitch profile or YouTube profile,
right?
So there's people that design their characters to like move around and like do the motion graphics that go with
Right, like
they're
almost like their avatar for the metaverse, except it's not official.
Yeah, it's not official, and it's just customized for them.
Right.
And you could just go into that. Like,
I mean, how amazing is it now? I mean, for a creative, for anybody, but we're talking about creative space. I mean, you have all this technology available to you. Mm-hmm. You can, I mean, I see the work that you do on your iPad and how you draw and create characters on there. It's fantastic, right? I mean, it's right there. It's already digitized. It's not like you're drawing it and then you have to like transition it over or anything. It's just like you're operating in the digital space. You can create however you want, whether you're a graphic designer, video producer, video editor, camera person, audio, music, and you could do it from anywhere. And you could either work for yourself or work for a company, and like you can be anywhere the hell you want.
It's amazing,
right?
Like, I love like the fact that we work from home so much. So like, let's say 2 weeks from now, I want to go somewhere. I could work, as long as I have a perspective space and internet, can work from anywhere.
Right.
There's people on TikTok who do like van life or whatever, and like RVs or whatever.
Yes.
And they just traveling remotely. And I'm assuming they're doing similar things like design or something.
Content creators.
But they're not just content creators. A lot of times they're working for someone else.
Well, yeah, they got it. I mean, they're doing something to generate income.
The fact is, they can be a creative anywhere. Now, I'm not saying you're probably not going to be a painter living in your van because you need the supplies and space. But, like, you need an iPad and a computer, not even both, and you can pretty much work from anywhere. And there's so many ways to get, like, Wi-Fi, like traveling.
I mean, listen, we work 2 days in the office and 3 days home. And that's not changing anytime soon. And I don't see it changing in the direction of more days at the office. If anything, over time, we might, we could go down to 1 day. We could be 100% remote at some point in time, depending on whatever we do and grow with the business, wherever we all decide to be. I mean, it's always been my dream, right, is, a house on a big piece of land. You have a house and then a separate building further over there, and that's like the creative barn studio, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And like that's my office work creative space over there. There's studios, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and you can have all the if it's Florida, you can have like some other straining light in, and it's super gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's that. It's I can walk back and forth from the house to that. There's enough parking to have people come if you want to come and work 1 day there. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know where that will be. That could be in Florida. It could be in Tennessee. It could be anywhere. I don't know yet, right? But I certainly foresee at some point in time us even being more remote. Mm-hmm. Which means you could be like, you know what, I'm moving to Costa Rica. Okay, cool. Jump on a plane once a quarter. We'll fly in. We'll spend a couple days together. But as long as you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. That's why when I got my house, I got a 3rd bedroom so I could have like a separate creative space.
Right.
Like even me, I just last week redid my office computer layout so that I had more room to put all my pens and stuff here, because I still work, as much as I'm digital, I still do traditional too.
Right.
So I have all my pens here and all my little tech for like videoing my artwork here, but then I have like my whole computer set up. But I also, it's a guest room and workout area too.
I'm curious with the work that you do on the side, the fun projects, the design stuff that you do. Have you ever earned income as a result of that? Is there any demand for that work, or do you just do it solely for your own enjoyment? I'm not asking if you're moonlighting or that's not the point.
I mean, I'll honestly tell you, I do things on Etsy. I don't do so much of my illustration stuff, but I use my illustration to do all the designs that way.
Right.
I do a lot of the creation for like my cousins, like anybody in my family who needs something, I charge them. But I did all their logos. I'm super like, if they don't go to me and they go somewhere else, I'm a little offended. It's like, that's what I do for a living.
Right.
So yeah, I a little bit here or there. A lot of the artwork's for me. I've done like paintings for my mom and like my family for like holidays and stuff like that. For me, it's just a drive to make something. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm home and I'm just watching TV or doing something on a weekday and I didn't create anything, super weird for me. Like I just can't do it.
Do you ever like?
That's why I called it an itch earlier.
Right. Do you ever find when you're like spending lots of time creating just for the sheer joy of it, do you ever sometimes go, it's nuts that I spend so much time just doing this?
I just wonder what else. I don't understand what people who don't do things like that do all day. Do you just like, do normal people just sit there and hang out with each other and not do other things at the same time? Like that's never been me. Like I go to dinner and I don't like have my iPad out drawing. But if I'm like at a friend's house and we're watching a movie, and unless it's like at the theater, I'm sitting on my iPad drawing while we're hanging out.
Right.
If I'm with my mom and sitting there drawing, the only time I don't is if I'm out. Yes, it's a lot of time I'm doing it, but I can't understand. I can't just do one thing.
Right.
I
mean, I can definitely do one thing, but I also like if my equivalent with that would just be sitting with a guitar in my hand and just kind of like just playing, which I did last night. Like we were all like just laying in bed and, you know, it was quiet and it was really nice. Like I just was playing like really quietly and my wife fell asleep and then Sabrina was with us and she fell asleep. It was really cute and it was just like,
she's so cute.
It was really nice to just do. But it's not like I could do that all the time, nor that I would. But I find, I mean, I don't think any of you realize how much time I spend here, like when you're not here.
That's a little worrisome.
Tinkering around with stuff and working on my projects, which is like creating all this stuff. It's sometimes I'm like, it's insanity what I'm doing, but I am so driven and I enjoy it so much.
So that's when I'm at home. If I'm at home and I'm not doing like something specific like making dinner or cleaning up or just like on the phone with my friend, I'm probably drawing or making something because I can. It's also how I learn.
Right.
Even in school, if I was taking notes and I'm in class, I'm also drawing at the same time because that's how I retain information, is a movement. Without writing, I hate writing, but without writing something down or doodling something, I can't remember anything.
Right.
So it's not just like me needing to draw, it's also me needing to process. Is how I process anything, is I have to have something moving.
So you're doing something and at the same time your mind's working, right?
Yeah, so I could probably tell you, like, if I was drawing something in college, I could probably tell you what class I was in while I was drawing that because I can remember.
Really?
Yeah, like not exactly, but like not the exact
It's almost
lesson.
like a learning aid?
Like a learning aid because I have a little bit of a learning disability, so it helps me like retain information better.
That's interesting. I find that it, like, for me, for example, Saturday, my wife had a friend of hers getting married, so they had like a ladies' dinner or whatever on Saturday. Ladies' dinner. Now, Saturday night's normally our date night, so we have a babysitter, but it was ladies' night, right? And we had the babysitter anyway. I'm like, oh my God, like, I get the night to myself, right?
Now, probably don't get that very often.
What do most people do? Like, would go out with their friends or whatever. No, I got here at 4:30. By 5 o'clock, I was working on my guitars and all my pedal boards and all this stuff till 2 a.m. Like,
oh wow,
9 hours.
I didn't think you stayed up that late.
I don't, unless I'm here doing that, right?
Okay.
That's the only thing that I'll stay up late for. It was 9 straight hours of constant work. And it went by like, I was like, oh my God, it's already over, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe, and it's craziness. Like, everything's out. And it's like I've got like 4 race cars that I'm building. And they're all like, this one's a small car for a small track. This is the big one for the big track.
So you're working on multi-projects at the same time while you're doing that?
Yes. Like, I've got a number of things going and I'm testing components and things, all of it ultimately to create a machine that I play through that is pleasing to me, right?
No, I totally get that. I always work on several projects at the same time.
And I always say I'm getting closer to finish, but a lot of them are getting like close to being done, which is a very satisfying feeling as well too.
You'll find something new to make.
I'm about to put them out on the track pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
But for me, that incredible focus, like, I don't think about anything else. That's one of the things I like about it. I don't think about like the day-to-day job. I don't think about my family. I don't think about anything. It's just like getting swept up in that creativity and being focused in it. It's like it's completely consuming and I love it.
I get that way sometimes, but I use mine more of a connecting with what's going outside me. But sometimes I do, like, I'm working on something and my mom's talking to me and I'm just like, were you saying something? I'm sorry. I was doing something.
Right.
Like, I'm working on not animated, but like illustrated lineups for my next cosplay because fingers crossed I get to go to con this year.
Right.
So I'm working on those. I'm working on a second logo project that I'm just doing for myself. So I'm sketching that at the same time. And I'm just I jump around. Even in my art files, I kind of work in a circle. Well, I guess this isn't a circle. But I work like this, so I'm jumping around. I never work in like A to B to C. I work A, F, G, Z, L, A again. And that's just like how my brain functions.
But it's all kind of in the same world.
Most of the time.
Right?
But sometimes I'll be writing and then I get bored with that and I need to design something. Then I get bored with that and I'll go organize something and I get bored with that. So I'm so scattered. It's only like when I'm super busy, I'm like hyper focused.
Right.
But even then I'm checking emails. Even when I'm working here, checking emails, I'm organizing something, I'm talking to someone else. Like I'm probably doing like 8 things.
In the, let's call it, I don't know, 10 years that you've been a creative professional. I'm just throwing a number out there.
It's around 10 years.
Yeah, okay, so let's just say that. What do you think, in what areas have you most improved, right? Like if you look at your creative and professional self now compared to when you started, like what are some of the things you're like, I'm definitely better as a result of this?
On a design side,
yes.
I'm much more concise. Everything's a little bit more tightened up than when I was at school where maybe something was misaligned or like my layouts are a lot cleaner, so like the eye follows around the page a lot better than it used to. I'm apparently, according to everyone, uber fast. Like
according to me, yeah.
I'm like uber fast, which used to be like a couple years, not as much lately, but a couple years ago it was like I'd make a lot of mistakes because I was moving too fast.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm trying to like meet in the middle of being fast and being well done, I guess that's not the word to put it, but like everything's like the way it's supposed to be. All the words are spelled correctly,
right? All
the information's correctly. I used to work so fast because I had so much overloading my mountain. Now I just work fast and then I go back and
right.
So I'm saying my work's more concise and more concise is still not the word I'm looking for. The quality is better and it's also tightened up.
You're more efficient. Yeah.
And then just last couple years especially, I've been trying to push myself to do something I normally wouldn't do a layout I wouldn't even think of, look at things like what my team's doing and see what I'm missing, how they're thinking. So that's kind of where I always kind of drive myself with design, is trying to do something new.
Right.
Especially like I don't follow the trends. Like I know what the trends are, but I like to know do what I feel works.
Like what's a trend in design right now?
Right now it's a lot of isometrics.
What is that?
Kind of looks like it's in perspective, in like 3D perspective, but it's still kind of 3D flat. If you ever look at old like Mario games or something, you'll see that it's kind of like a 3/4 view.
Okay.
So it's like an isometric design where it's offset this way. Seems to be pretty popular. There's I don't want to call it pastel gradient, but like a floaty kind of design going on where it looks like a lot of like colors are like lightly blending into the whites. I've seen a lot. There's that Facebook illustration where they're kind of just like generic people that are super bubbly and flat. Was really popular last year. There's more of a movement towards accessibility, which is great because first off you have to illegally, but like making sure everything isn't instant playing videos, or there's more text on a page than like images.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's better for people who can't see or can't hear or use like readers.
Okay.
So like that's not a trend, but that's like a thing that people are moving towards. So like design is being more accommodating. But every year there might be, okay, this year everything's super 3D. And then the next year everything's flat.
Right.
And it's whatever's popular at the time.
It's just like any other artist, constantly moving, evolving,
Mm-hmm.
and moving forward, and then grabbing pieces from the past and incorporating them in new ways. Like,
yeah. And that's how we
music,
got art movements. We have, I have the Impressionist, and then you have the Post-Impressionist, then you have the Modern, where everything was like nothing. And it's just...
Did you study art in college?
Oh, yeah. It was like my favorite.
Okay, so you studied like all the different...
Yeah, can I tell you most of what I learned? No, absolutely not. I can tell you what I liked and I remember.
Right.
I used to be able to name every part of a Greek temple. Why I needed that information, still don't know, but it was pretty cool. I took a whole class on Michelangelo.
Yeah, okay.
So I had to do a final project where I did a bunch of illustrations on his statue.
What, David or
I did. He has a lot of statuary.
Right.
So I chose not popular ones. I did a lot of like Dying Muses. I did one of his, I guess I did like 3 Dying Muses.
Didn't he do one called Angry Birds?
No, it'd be funnier. Like, if you ever look at his work, I swear that man has never seen a woman. Everything's in the wrong place. There's like 2 pieces of art that actually are pretty feminine. I learned in class, you know that myth where he like was laying on his back painting
the Sistine Chapel?
That was a myth.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he was on his scrapple like painting backwards, like hurting his back because he has notebooks of him complaining about it.
Right. I mean, can you think about like that? Like when you think about, and maybe it's the same today in a different way, but when I look at, let's just call it art or music from that time period, right?
Yeah.
You think of like the master painters. I don't know who they, I mean, I know the names, but I don't know what movement. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, you look at the Sistine Chapel, right? The sheer amount of excellence and time and detail that goes into that something, it's insane, right? Like, how long did it take? I don't even know. Who knows how long it takes?
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
So, I mean, I think he had assistants. Almost every famous painting, just like now, have a, intern is not the right word, but like
understudies.
That's not the right word. That's a theater term. Whatever. Gremlins that like help them do, they're part of like their studio.
Right.
It's like most of the famous sculptors and like
they had other people working with them.
They have like a team, so they work out of their studio.
So Michelangelo had other people helping paint the Sistine Chapel?
He probably did most of it, but he definitely had some assistants who were running around mixing his paint and bringing him his colors.
Okay, so fair enough. I mean, it could probably be said that Mozart or Bach had some people helping like get their supplies and stuff like that as well too. But I guess what the point that I'm making is the art from that particular time, let's call it the 1400s, the 1600s, whatever. Like
it's the 1530s or something. Like,
right?
He was around like Julius this whatever. Because like it was right before like Raphael and that movement and stuff.
Okay, so you're more dialed in on that.
Yeah.
Hear me. I'm trying to make a point here.
1500s, go.
The detail that went into that art, into that architecture, and into that music was insanely sophisticated. Like nobody does that shit now. I mean, I'm sure there's painters who still do a little bit of, but like en masse, you don't see that type of attention and focus to detail. Like, listen to great symphonic music. It's insane.
It's because everything now is focused on, I need it fast. I need it. You like, look at the Lin-Manuel Miranda who did Hamilton and stuff. How much he's done sheerly in the last year. He directed a movie. He's been executive producer on 2 or 3 other movies. He's made 2 whole musical scores for 2 different movies. It's just like the sheer amount of work that man did in a year is like how much people would do in their lifetime, like 500 years ago. Because it's nowadays you're expected to post every day, and it's just like do. I can't tell you a day that if I don't send something in a couple hours to a client, what's going on? It's like,
well, we all know you now because we say, you'll be like, is it okay if I take a little time on this? Yeah, no, take your time, Erin. Ding, there it is.
But yeah, it's nowadays I have to get everything done quickly, like just. Artists on their own, I have to do it. You have to do a lot because everybody's seeing it. It's not like back then where it's like, oh, Michelangelo just released this new painting. It's been like 4 years since he released this new painting. It's amazing.
Right.
You had the time, like, you kind of had no choice. You had the time. Everything moved slower.
Yeah, they're masterworks. That's all they had to do. That was it. That's what he did. When you look forward to creating and you think about the stuff that you want to create into the future and for the rest of your life, are there areas that you're like, okay, I don't know how to do that yet and I want to learn how to do that? Or, like, what would that be? What would be some areas that you want to develop into? I'm
trying to get better at portrait work and trying to make, especially on a digital scale, making things look more traditional, honestly. Like, I've noticed a lot of like people use textures in their drawing or making things more like watercolor and just learning how those blend. Like I can do portraits, but I do like portraits one every couple years versus like I'll do an animated like anime style thing and I'll do like I did like in October I do like 30. But I know how to do that. So I'm trying to always learn new styles. As far as like illustration, I'm trying, like, I was comparing something I made in 2018 versus 2021 yesterday, and I'm just like, wow, there's more dimension to it. My style has gotten better. Everything is less, like, you can tell, like, the perspective's slightly off. But, like, at the time, it was great.
Right. But now you're better.
Yeah. For a while, I was trying to learn how to do more animations and, like, After Effects and stuff. So there's always more to learn, and I'm always trying to also learn. There's no programs that come out. And, like, part of being creative, part of being a creative is you need to be constantly learning, especially in design, because there's always more things coming out there.
Right.
There's always going to be, whether it's making things for Twitch, the NFT things, if you're learning to animate drawings in Procreate, like, that's a big thing that people are doing, is, like, animating part of it versus, like, the whole picture. Or even just learning how to make a quick video for myself to put something on, like, social media. It's like, there's always more to learn. There's never less to learn.
As you're talking about portraits and all that stuff, like, in my mind, I'm imagining, like, the old, like, almost like an old, like, palace or something like that, like the oil painting portrait of you sitting like royalty in, like, some...
I mean, that'd be awesome.
You know, big gilded gold frame, like a gigantic self-portrait of you, like, over the fireplace.
Yeah, I'm so terrible at backgrounds too, though. Like, that's another thing.
Oh, yeah?
Most of the time I just put, like, a color sparkle or something, because backgrounds are nothing, like, even in animation, most backgrounds are done separately from the main art. So you can have someone that's just a background artist, you have somebody that's just a storyboard artist, you have someone that's just a character designer, you have somebody that does, like, in-betweens. I mean, yeah, some of it's digital, but, like, a lot of things are still hand-drawn.
As we move into this even more digital, we're in the digital age now. We're not moving into it. We're in it, right?
Yeah, we've been in the digital age for a while.
So, but I guess maybe I'm thinking more into the NFT piece, but before we get on that topic, is there something lost in the art form as we move from, say, you know, paintbrush, oil paint on canvas to designing on a tablet? Is there something lost as we move into this realm?
Yes, I would say yes. I think anybody who's digital still does traditional, and traditional people who experiment do digital, because they're the feeling of paper, what I can do with, like, my digital. Yeah, there's a ton of brushes, but if you don't know how to use them, so, like, I have probably 12 different kinds of pens at home, because one pen is going to give me a different result than this pen. So I use, like, sometimes this brand called Posca, which are paint pens.
Okay.
So this will give me those, like, really beautiful colors, and I can use it on any medium. But then I'm probably going to go over it with some acrylic paint. Maybe I go over it with some charcoal, or I'm going to use, like, a different pen from 8 other brands, just because they all going to give me a different feeling. And then there's something about holding a piece of paper. It's like, when you read, do you prefer to read books or, like, on a tablet? You're not a reader.
I'm back to books.
Yeah, that's how I am too. So I read things digitally, but then in the last 3 months I've been going back to, like, physical books. I still read some things digitally. It's like, there's always that feeling of having something in your hands. Like, when I was, last time I started hiring people don't bring in portfolio books anymore.
They send you to a website.
They send you to a website.
Right.
Versus when I was still at school, and that's only 10, 12 years ago, we had to do both. You still had to have a website, but you also had to have a physical portfolio of some kind, whether it's in that black book where you can go through, or if you got it printed. And there's something about physically having something in your hands that the iPad can't replace.
Right.
So yes, I love it, and I'm mostly digital, but there's still days I'm just like, break out that journal and start sketching, because there's no other feeling like that.
Do you think okay, so now we're moving into NFTs, but let's talk about digital art. You know, let's say, you know, the future is people having gigantic, you know, digital monitors in their home that display rotating pieces of beautiful artwork, right? Not just, you know, slapped up graphics, but literally, you know, extremely beautiful artwork. Is there the ability in the digital world to create digitally pieces of work that are as masterful as
of course,
as the master painters or whatever?
I think so. And I mean, I know people myself who do that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, I know I still like to buy prints and I'll go get them printed. As far as NFTs, I think it's more about the ownership, I think, of the item, because obviously you're not physically holding it, but you still have the ownership of the piece of craft, whether it's the tweet or the song, the graphic, the motion video, whatever. So I think there's value to both, because, okay, cool, I'm going to go buy that painting, or you can go buy the digital ownership of the painting. They both have value, but they're different value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it depends on the person. If you're a person that doesn't like to have a lot of things, having a lot of things like physical isn't going to work for you. But if you like to show off your digital piece of art on your wall, and it's nice to be like, oh, I got this from Modern Rembrandt, I got this from Modern Michelangelo, like, this is making a lot of noise. There's still value in the ownership of the item, because you can say it's yours. No one else has this.
Right.
Because that's the whole point of art design, is no one else has this.
It's a unique thing in and of itself.
My cup. No one else owns this. Only I own this one.
Right.
That's the point of having art, is, okay, I'm decorating my walls. No one else has Michelangelo's 5th piece of art or whatever.
Right.
Same thing with the NFT. Piccadilly made this one thing. This is Piccadilly's number 15. No one else owns it.
So let's talk about the NFT piece now. You know, I know, you know, and I'm no less excited about it just because I haven't spoken about it quite as much in the last week or two. But I mean, I think NFTs represent one of the greatest things ever for creative people. You know, the ability to create, distribute, and monetize your work independent of anybody else or any entity. I think it's there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, right? Just because you do an NFT drop doesn't mean that people are going to buy it. Just
like the fine art market, you still need to have a following, because by having that following, it creates value. Like, okay, cool, I made this piece of art, but if no one follows me, no one holds value in it. So like the popularity or the price of an NFT is a lot escalated by how popular.
Sure.
But that's the same if you go to like Art Basel in Miami. If Joe Schmo's making a painting in his garage, and as beautiful it is, unless someone knows who the hell he is, no one cares.
Right.
Versus, I don't know any famous art names nowadays.
I don't either.
Raphael made a painting and he's like the hottest stuff in the world.
Right.
Obviously, even if it's like a banana on a wall, it's gonna sell. It just, I think, happened a couple years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. It's going to sell because he has that following. He's known. He's the Michelangelo of his time.
It's sort of like that. When I think of South Florida, I think of that artist Brito.
Is that who it is?
Brito. Like, it's the very bright colors and sort of very basic squares and circles with polka dots on it. It's very like, it's very, when you see it, you're like, yeah, that's Brito. Okay. You know, like it really blew up. But then after a while you see it, you're just kind of like,
I mean, and that'll probably happen with a lot of NFT artists. But a lot of it's that the anticipation of owning something from that guy.
Well, look at Gary Vee. The guy just like literally just, you know, did some hand sketches and doodles. And I know I saw him talk about the revenue generated on his first NFT drop. It was $80 million.
Yeah, because he's
because of him. It's him.
I mean, you might not know everything he's about, but you hear the name Gary Vee, you know that's a famous person.
Exactly. So amazing. So now that you've had some time to study it and think about it and look at it a little bit, what's your take on the NFT space now that you've had some time to process the thoughts?
So I'm the person that's on the fence. I can see the value from a business owner or an entity of, I can make a lot of money and value of having like this digital product going on in the world. There's still the environmental factor that they're still figuring out because it creates a lot of energy use. Mm-hmm. There's still art getting stolen from a lot of artists, and that goes on a lot. And they're still trying to figure out that piece. I think as it gets more, I don't want to use centralized, but more figured out and done, it'll become a better space. But the opportunity of it is very fascinating. Mm-hmm. Because I could go create a series today, and if I had a good following, I could make a lot of money, and I have still rights to my, however I word it or whatever, I can still own rights to the piece of art as
it continues to transact.
Yeah
I think it's so cool. I keep in my mind, I keep thinking about like, and we won't talk about it now, but like, what's our first one here going to be? Like, what's the thing that's going to be, like the first one that we create? And
like, I'm interested to see how the process goes of getting it out.
Yeah.
Even if I'm still on the fence of how it works and everything, it's still really interesting to be on the cusp of something new.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it doesn't matter listen, if we create something and we do it and it makes money, fantastic, right? Like, it's going to be good for all of us because, like I said, there's going to be a revenue share on this deal. But if it doesn't the first time, the second time, the third time, that doesn't bother me either. It's just the process, the point of like getting involved with it, doing it, understanding it, figuring out how to do it better each time. Because essentially what you're doing, it's like, it's marketing and art, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's art first, or is it? Because if you haven't done the marketing to draw attention to us, right? And then what we create, what does it matter, And so we're kind of going to be starting from scratch from that, because technically in whatever world that we're going to be in and under the name that we're going to use, which is not just going to be Herman, right? Nobody's going to know us anyway. So we're literally, it's going to be like a dual creative / marketing project and an event. So there'll be a human component that we'll be able to judge and say, well, how effective, how good was the work? How good was the marketing? How good was the event? Did we create buzz?
And see, like, that's the fascinating part for me. It's not so much, okay, look at this cool NFT I made. I mean, I make something every day. That's not the exciting bit on this bit. This is seeing kind of the process of it going out. And I love marketing, which is why I work here. I didn't go into, if I just wanted to make art, I could just make art. But like the element of selling to people, seeing what they're interested in, what kind of ideas succeed, what ideas flop. If we get it out something actually somebody wants. I mean, that's the fascinating bit as far as NFTs for me. I know you're so excited.
I am, and I was imagining, right? And I was like, oh, I'll tell you some ideas that I had afterwards. But seriously, it is. It's about creating buzz, about creating cool work. We're totally going to do it. Again, if it makes money, amazing. If not, oh well. You know what I'm really excited to see right now? The crypto markets are getting killed. Yeah,
didn't they crash or something on Friday?
No, they're down. 2 months ago when I first started getting excited just talking about this, Bitcoin was 67,000. It's 35 right now. It hit as low as 32 today. So it's lost almost 50% of its value, which I'm like, that's fucking great because I'm not in it now.
Yeah.
But I do plan to be, as I feel like I've studied it.
$50 in cryptocurrency.
Well, it's probably worth about 25 right now.
If I'm lucky. It's interesting. It's like the stock market.
Yeah,
something that's high now goes down tomorrow. As long as it doesn't completely crash into the ground.
The regular market's kind of easing off. Everything's kind of easing off right now, which I'm like, good. Just.
I would like if the real estate market would just level out.
Probably not. It might just ease off a little bit, but
that'd be fine too. I'm sick of everybody in my Facebook groups complaining about the cost of rent. I'm sick of seeing half my friends had to move out of county because they can't find a decent place to live in this area.
Yeah, no, the rental market in South Florida is crazy, and even the people that are involved in creating it, George Perez, who's a big developer out of Miami, even he's like, this isn't sustainable, these numbers. What people have to pay per square foot,
ridiculous,
in downtown Miami or in that area, it's insane. People are not going to be able to, we're going to lose capacity because people aren't going to be able to afford living in these places. It'll all ease off. Listen, I think we're going to see an economic slowing this year. Not a total recession. I don't know. I don't know enough to call that, but watching the indicators, inflation's going up, the market's starting to cool right now. The crypto market is definitely cooling because you got a lot of people in there that, I don't know if they have the tolerance. They got in because it's kind of fun, cool, and exciting, but I don't know if they have the guts and the tolerance to watch their investment go in half, in 2 months. And then and watch and have the ability to ride it down and then ride it back up, because it will go back up. The question is when and how long does it take?
Yeah, you have.
So I think right now people are like, oh, we're getting out.
Yeah, you have to stay in it for the long term, unfortunately, and that's very scary.
With your $50.
I'm just not me personally, but I'm just saying being in,
let it ride, baby.
Even stock market isn't something I'm do either. I have my retirement savings,
right,
my old school stuff, but I don't have money in the stock market. I'm just
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't either, and I haven't for because I haven't had the desire or passion. Now I'm starting to, for whatever reason, it's clicked inside of me, and I'm excited about it. So I'm watching it and paying attention and just studying and educating myself and watching what's happening. But again, it's like it's one of those things that be careful what you get into if you're really not into it, right?
Yeah, I'm a slow and steady kind of gal. I'm a turtle. Or a tortoise, whatever. Okay. I'm like, I put money in my house. I'm going to wait, 10 years for it to raise value. I mean, it raised a lot, obviously, with what's going on. But once it levels out, I'm going to slowly wait for it to go up.
Well, it's going to keep going up.
Put my savings, go up. I'm not shoving money here and there.
Your savings are not going up. But, your savings are being eaten away every single day.
Either which way, I put more money in, it's whatever. It's sitting, it's going. It's not like...
Hate to be the bearer of that bad news.
But I have... money my 401k is in the stock market, that goes in and that goes blah blah blah, but I only have a couple of things in high risk. Most things are steady old school,
right?
Wait it out, because I have more time than I have money to throw at it.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Who knew we'd be talking about investment and finances after starting?
Man, don't I just look like I know a lot about that? I don't. I know enough to get through. This is what I have.
Well, most people don't, but I'm no expert, and I've sort of always had things that were more interesting to me over time, quite frankly. And now I'm starting to realize it's amazing how little they actually teach you about money and how money works when you're growing up.
They teach you nothing.
It's almost like it's intentional.
They don't even have home ec anymore or anything. I know a bunch of kids that don't know how to do laundry, do basic cooking, don't know how to balance. I mean, not necessarily you need a balance checkbook anymore, but how to put money away every week. These things aren't really taught. It's all going towards the testing.
Right.
I don't know how it'll be with your kids and they're going to school, because it might change again.
Right.
But it's so focused on, I need to take the FCATs, or I need to take the SATs, ACTs. It's all focused on that. I couldn't tell you where half the countries in the world are because I barely learned geography while I was in school.
Yeah, that's...
Basic knowledge isn't... It's too much on how to do math and which is still important, but it's focused on test taking.
Yeah, right. And it's almost a topic too big to even get into.
That's a whole podcast itself, and I don't even have firsthand knowledge.
Yeah, we'll set that one aside for now. But needless to say, there's I would encourage anybody to take the time now to actually just learn about money, really learn about it. No, I'm talking about learn about money, learn how currencies work, learn how international currencies trade, understand inflation and deflation, understand those concepts and principles so that you can make better decisions, because nobody's taught this stuff growing up. So most people don't have any clue, and not to critique, but whatever money you have sitting there, right? The current inflation rate is 7%, and most people say it's actually higher than that, right? So over the course, let's say it's $100, right? Mm-hmm. Over the course of 5 years, that's now worth $60.
Yeah, I know.
Right, which is insane, right? And so how do you outrun inflation? If we grew our business 10% every year, that'd be good.
It'd be wonderful.
We'd just be keeping up with inflation, basically. You're not getting ahead. We have to grow at a 10% rate every single year just to stay even, right? To maintain the same purchasing power of the earnings. How do you ramp it up even higher? Even the stock market tends to just rise over time at about 10%. So how do you so people who don't understand money and deflation and inflation, all that stuff, some people, you understand it, but not everybody understands that that nice little pile of cash that you're looking at, I still have it. You don't realize that it's shrinking right before your eyes.
So math in high school, they were explaining over time, this is how you need this amount to live. But I'm just thinking, well, I might think I need $50,000 to live a year when I'm retiring, but it might be $70,000 to $100,000 in the future. So you kind of have to keep that in mind as you're putting and planning away. I mean, I could tell you a lot of people don't even know how to save $100.
Right. And how many creative people currently that or throughout time have either A, made no money and just been dead broke and destitute, B, made a ton of money and lost it all because they had no clue what they were doing with it, or they had a shyster manager or something like that steal it from them.
A ton of them.
Right? And so, this sort of hand-in-hand thing about creatives now and the opportunity it provides also, I think, comes with a meaningful responsibility of learning from the mistakes of other people, creative people in generations past. You can't just be an artist.
So the problem...
You gotta be fucking smart.
So when I was in school, no one taught the business side.
Right.
That was my problem. So anything I know about business, I either learned while working on a practical level, read about, or kind of just figured it out myself.
Right.
And it's kind of outrageous, the amount of artists that don't figure out, like, have to figure out how to market themselves, how to, like, do the legal of it, figure out how to run their business, how to price. Like, that's a big thing. People don't know how to price themselves. I don't know all these things either. I always work for someone else. But, like, if I want to sell a painting, how much do I sell this painting for? How do I get people to get my painting? Like, it's a big factor that's not taught in school. It's, this is how we use color. Yes, that's fucking important. But if you don't know how to make $1 from this painting, what good is
point? It? Yeah. There's no excuse now for being like the starving artist. I just, there's no excuse for it unless you're just lazy and that's just what you want to be. I really believe that, because it used to be that you were the starving artist because basically you created your art and you hoped somebody was there to help you get it to people or help sell it.
But now there's so many means to get it out there.
And there's so much information on how to do that. Every bit of information that any artist needs about not only their craft, but how to learn the business side, how to market themselves. YouTube University, baby. You just go there and it's all right there. So there's no excuse to...
The niche, you have to find which niche you're good on. Okay, cool. I like making music. Do you like making original music? Do you like doing, Weird Al stuff where you make, parody
stuff
music?
Or soundtrack or what? What's your deal?
Are you writing scores? Are you writing jingles? Are you creating... If you're a songwriter, are you making music for other people? Are you getting it to the right people? Because you can make a lot of money doing that. It's just, there's so many different venues to go of rather than, I like to be in a band. Okay, cool. You want to be represented. How about instead you create your label and get your music out there, or putting it... There's... That little technology, there's so many ways of getting it out there. There's almost no excuse to, even if you're not going to do it as your full-time thing, but as your hustle, there's got to be a way to hustle it.
Right. And think about, like you get on TikTok and you look at some of these creators. Some of them are truly fantastic. Others are, they got an average thing, but they're good marketers. They understand audiences, and they understand how to put their stuff in front of people, right? And get people and do the things, that people like, and they've got their little clickbait, icons and stuff like that. I can tell you how many
ridiculous people I follow.
Right.
I watch 4 different hairdressers because I love listening to their Karen stories, or the ridiculous things they do every day. There's this one lady that just I watch her do her hair in different ways, and sometimes she talks about parenting, sometimes she just makes chicken nuggets.
But she's doing her hair the whole time while she's doing it?
Sometimes she's some days she'll cut her hair and restyle it a different way. Sometimes she's talking about lessons she learns with her kids. Sometimes she's just making a meal for the family, but how she presents it, because she's selling, she's selling herself, but she's selling her brand. And then every, 5th or 6th video, she's selling that little eyeglass sticky thing that's been really popular in TikTok. They're base glasses, and then they have magnetic patterns you can put on top.
Right.
I get that ad all the damn time. She does that one all the time. Some of them are doing Thrift Up, which is online thrift store stuff.
Right.
So, but they have enough of a following from doing their skits and BS that I'm just ingrained. And I'm okay, you want to sell me something? I don't mean I'm going to buy it, but sometimes I'll click on it and just be what the hell am I selling? Because I follow the person. So
right.
Sometimes they're just creating stupid dance videos, and I'm just I'm in for it.
Listen, I love this guy. It's Meals by Cuj. He's this Italian kid from Staten Island, and he's kind of a tall, skinny, goofy guy. He either is cooking stuff, or he's going to places and trying different pizzas and sandwiches, and it's just it's solely his personality and how he goes, and it's the guy's he's up to 1.5 million followers at this point in time. He had 300,000 when I came across him.
And I think TikTok has that creators fund if you have a certain amount of views or whatever.
You can start making money.
Yeah, I think YouTube has that same thing. You can start monetizing
Yes.
at a certain level.
Oh, there's a guy who started off, he was like a real estate broker out in California, like a real estate guy. And he started like buying his little investment, I don't want to say little, he started buying his investment properties, small homes, refurbishing them, turning around. And he just started he started promoting it on YouTube. He's built it up now. He's got a huge following. I think he said that there was a period of time that he and his wife were making like, I want to say $150,000 a month from YouTube.
That's awesome.
Right? I mean, so the possibilities are endless. And, you know, if anything, sometimes I'm like, dude, let's figure out our one thing here, right? And do that. Because
well, it's hard finding that. Once you find that niche, I guess once you find that brand, market, niche, whatever, and you just kind of go with it, if it goes well, that's...
And in most cases, it's people just doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's no guarantee that that's going to be a hit, right? Some people just are duds, you know, but...
Oh, yeah.
You know, but like people who authentically do their thing and just keep putting it out there, keep putting it out there, they tend to be an audience. I guess the overarching theory here is that it's just, to be a creative person in this day and age, it's like the best time, I think, to be a creative person and to be able to live well and make money and succeed.
There's not like 100 ways to be creative. There's a million ways to be creative. You just like mixing colors. I follow like 3 different people that just mix colors on TikTok. Don't say a damn word. And they're just mixing colors, but how they edit it and how they mix the colors, like, all right, I'm in for it. I don't know what the hell you're doing. I don't know why I'm watching this.
Right?
It's literally what got me into TikTok. Is like this one guy that would just he could color match anything with paint.
Right.
And he would start with like throwing orange and blue and stuff in there and like pulling all these different things. And you just like how he spin and tapped like his palette.
No, I haven't seen it, but I can totally get it. Like, it just sounds like it could be really cool.
Well, he's literally just mixing paint. Like, that's all the kid is doing, and I'm just like, I'm in for it. I don't know. I'm assuming he makes money for it because he gets like 500 something views on these videos.
Right.
Just mixing fucking paint. I can mix paint. I'll get millions of dollars for doing that.
It's awesome. It's so great. So much cool shit. So much cool shit right now. I love it. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, for the clients of ours that have watched this episode all the way to the end, sometimes I'm just like, you know, let's not have to do any of that stuff. Like, there's so many cool things that you can do right now. It's almost like, you know, how do you, you know, just focus it down?
Yeah,
right? Because there's too many options.
My problem is I'm interested in so many things.
Yeah.
So it's hard to just focus on one thing.
Right.
So like, so that I was wondering, how do you find that one thing? And I think that's the biggest thing as a creative to find is, what is your thing?
Like, I wonder, like, in the 2 years that I've been tinkering away at a bunch of stuff here, like, if I had recorded and filmed every bit of that, like, here's what I'm doing, this, that, there'd be I know for sure, because there's a bunch of guitar gearheads. I honestly think you should just
start doing it now.
Right? There's a ton of guitar gearheads that love this kind of shit, right? And I'm tinkering away at it like a madman, you know, and I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm like, I should just be filming what I'm doing. And
we have enough cameras, you might as well.
I know. Okay. Let's save that for our next content meeting. Okay, we'll put that together.
We'll put next week's content meeting.
I think I'm good.
I'm good. My ears are starting to hurt from this thing anyways.
Yeah, I've got to fix that. There's something with this wireless.
No, it's just, I don't.
You don't dig it.
It's the pressure.
Right. How are we doing on the confidence monitor? Oh, we've already gone over. Oh, really? Wow, we're at an hour and 3 minutes already. Okay.
Well, someone had to hear my voice that long. No, it's just very pitchy.
It's you?
Yeah,
it's Erin.
I don't listen to the sound of my voice.
We are right now.
I mean, right
Maybe
now.
That's why you want to take the headphones off?
A little bit. So some people can't hear the tone of my voice. It's so, like, high. It's better than when I was younger, but, like, older you get, the less you can hear the high pitches.
Right.
So people just can't hear my voice. So I kind of have to lower it sometimes.
I just know you to be you and what you sound like.
Well, yeah, you can hear me.
Yes. Erin, great time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
You're welcome, Erin. Thanks for being here.
Adios.
Adios.